Hey everyone, welcome to a second podcast. I'm Naveen, and we have Karthikeyan here on the show. And today's guest is Arun Thomas. Arun is currently a product manager at Amazon, and he went to Duke University. I know him through one of the resident advisor programs. He was my RA. He lived right next door, and yeah, he's a super nice guy and super successful as well. Um, all right, Arun. Okay, let's get started. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you so much, Naveen and Karthikeyan, for giving me this opportunity to talk at your podcast. Uh, yeah, like Naveen introduced, my name is Arun Thomas. I'm currently a senior product manager at Amazon. I am based out of Seattle, Washington. Uh, I was previously a Master of Engineering Management student at Duke, and I graduated in 2022. And it's been around 8 months that I'm at Amazon right now. So yeah, very excited to be here and answer any questions that you guys might have.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much for being here, Arun. Thank you. Okay, yeah. So let's quickly go back in time and talk about your undergrad undergraduate experience in India. What did you study? I guess like how did that set you up for where you are now? I just want to hear.
So it's quite a long time back. I did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering in 2013. This was from a university in Chennai, India called VIT University. It was so I initially began my program as a software engineer. For the first 2 semesters, I was studying computer science. After which, I always had a passion for mechanical engineering, so I changed my branch from computer science to mechanical. In the history of VIT, I'm pretty sure I'm the only person who changed from computer science to mechanical because people usually
Yeah,
change to computer science.
two
Um,
companies. Yeah,
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 but I really enjoyed at that point of time, mechanical engineering, automobiles, engines were all a huge fascination for me, and I thought I should follow my passion and go for mechanical engineering, and that's why I made that switch. Uh, I can talk more about the impact of that switch later on, but to answer your question, my time at VIT was really great. When I look back, I feel that my closest friends are during the time at VIT. So, and in terms of having a college experience to VIT was a really multicultural place. You had people from everywhere in India and a few people from outside India too. So you really get the exposure. You are able to talk to a lot of people outside your core circle. So I think VA prepared me for life in a lot of ways that I did not expect. We had great teachers, and I stayed on campus for 4 years. So I think all of that kind of helped me down the lane prepare myself for the journey ahead. And I I finished. I left VIT in 2017. Yeah, and that's when I
yeah.
joined my first job.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. Do you want to like tell us about like maybe like an experience or two, maybe at your first job or even at VIT that heavily influenced you or probably push you towards making your decision to study abroad?
Um, okay. So I don't have an experience per se that I have to say, but I can tell you what pushed me to study abroad. So, like I said, I went through this phase of life where I was kind of confused between should I go behind my passion or should I go behind a job, like a job that pays pretty well, which was only available in computer science at that time. So after I changed my branch from computer science to mechanical, it was actually very difficult to find jobs. All the like placement during the college, we have placements in the fourth year of college. So all placements were mostly targeted at computer science, electronics jobs, and
Yeah.
mechanical engineering, civil engineering. All of these did not really have a lot of jobs available. So at that point of time, I did have to make a decision to uh, switch back to computer science. I attended a few interviews and I got a job as a software developer in a company called Headset and AB. Uh, this was in Hyderabad. Uh, this was my first job, and even though I had literally no experience in computer science at that point of time, they somehow hired me. They trained me, and I spent nearly 4 years in that company. That was my first job.
4 years.
Yeah,
Oh,
4 years.
wow.
Yeah. Looking back, it feels like a really long period of time.
Yeah.
Uh, so the first couple of years were very development focused, and later I branched out to slightly more product management related roles. I was kind of the APM for the product management, the DevOps team. So I think what what pushed me to go abroad is definitely I could see a lot more scope outside the US, outside India. The job you do, the salary you have, the work culture you have, they are all, at least in my experience, I mean, different people might have different experiences, but in my personal experience, they were kind of limited in India. And it's only when you travel abroad, you get to see the vast opportunities that you have in front of you. So I think it was that desire to simply excel in my career, do things outside my comfort zone, try to experiment, try to figure out what I really wanted to do in life. That pushed me outside. I would say I was not very comfortable working in India in terms of like, I was not exactly sure was I in the right domain? Was I
Yeah.
doing what I wanted to do? Uh,
Yeah.
so I think that period of uncertainty and that period of knowing not what if I am in the right spot or not, that kind of pushed me to explore and see what other opportunities I have outside India. And yeah, that's how
Yeah.
I reached up in Duke.
Okay. Nice. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to you on that.
Yeah. So, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yes.
so let's say like what would you say are some of the main factors that influenced you to go to the US? Because many people face the challenge. Like say someone who's done same engineering as you and probably like 2 3 years work experience, they're probably in the same mindset of whether I should go, whether I should not. What do you think they should consider before making that choice, and what choice would be best for them?
I think again this depends on a person to person. There is not, we don't have a solution that fits everyone. But to answer your question, I think few factors that determine or decide if you should travel abroad or not is, on the top, you certainly have your financial situation, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Especially moving to a country like the US, it's a really expensive affair.
Yeah.
There are scholarships, there are universities, maybe public universities, which don't cost as much, but usually traveling to US is a really expensive affair. You might have to shell upwards of, let's say, around 80,000. Like for my program, it was close to around 80. So it's an expensive thing to do. There are financial help that you can take. There are loans, there are scholarships, but they are not really guaranteed. So I would say do judge your financial situation. Also have some kind of an idea on what you want to study, right? Again, this goes contrary to what I was saying, that I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. But it
Yeah.
really helps when you have some kind of an idea, like you either want to do an MS in CS or an MBA. So do have some direction in that way. I would also say possibly your age plays a factor in terms of the opportunities that you receive. I'm not being an ageist over here, but I personally felt like, how do I put it? So when I joined Duke, the I was above the average age of the cohort at Duke. So and there are people slightly older than me, and I could feel that, or they have said to me that they had difficulties to integrate with the Duke crowd, with the people at Duke. So when you choose a university, it might be better to choose a place where the average age of students is similar to your age. That might help you integrate better. Yeah, I think pretty much those are the most important factors which you should see when you travel, when you choose to go abroad. Also, decide which country you want to travel to, because that plays a huge factor. Life in the US And finding a job in the US, I assume, is very different from finding a job in, say, Canada or Europe or Australia for that matter. US in particular, I've always seen US as a very high risk, high reward place, right? You go big or you go home. There are so many visa restrictions and so on. So be prepared to be prepared to accept that uncertainty, that life might not be as smooth as you expect. You might have to face a lot of challenges. There might be difficulties, that unexpected stuff that comes up. I can speak about a few of my experience there too. But yeah, that would be my overall advice.
You were saying how college selection is really important, right? Based on your age and stuff like that. So can you tell us a little bit about what your research process looked like while applying to the US to select Duke and to do masters at Duke?
Yeah, so I began my research to go abroad. I think it was in 20. I knew I'd not want to go for a purely technical program like a master's in computer science. I knew I wanted something to do of a like a management and related. And I just searched online. Like you have to do a ton of research online. So what I found was for management, there are basically two different streams. One is the traditional MBA, and then you have this MEM, Master of Engineering Management program. The difference between an MBA and the MEM program is that the MBA is it's much more traditional. You're taught the conventional or like the standard business practices, and it's definitely an MBA is more valuable, I would say, than a MEM, but an MBA is more expensive. So yeah, I think I digressed a bit. Yeah, so you do a ton of research. You reach out to people online on LinkedIn, and you speak to them. You try to see what kind of jobs are people doing once they graduate from this course that you want to attend. You try to find out if you can see a salary estimate, how many years they stay in the US. Basically, reach out to people on LinkedIn. You might have your friends or colleagues who also want to find it, like go abroad. So you reach out to all these people and you basically begin by asking a ton of questions on how would it look like 5 years down the line, what kind of jobs, the college experience, and so on. I think that should be definitely your first step. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, so basically, like try to reach out to people who probably went to the university and understand their experiences and salary
Yeah.
expectations and all those.
Yeah, that should be your first step. And then comes the actual application process itself, right? Again,
Do you want
for
to walk me
that,
through the application process, Arun? Like,
yeah,
do you want
yeah,
to
sure.
maybe tell us
Yeah.
what you did? And yeah,
So
it will be helpful.
So in my case, before I even chose my university, it was I was not really sure where should I go. Like even before I had any idea what course to do, or like should I go for an MBA or an MEM, all of that. I gave my IELTS exam. That's this English proficiency test that you have to
Yeah.
take for going abroad. So I think people choose either between TOEFL or IELTS. But if I remember correctly, IELTS is the more broadly accepted test because it's accepted both in Canada and US, I believe. I'm not sure about this one, but I took IELTS, which was it was not that difficult. For me, I did score an 8.5 out of 9 overall. So
Wow.
you are graded on your listening, speaking, writing. There is one more. Yeah, but there are basically four sections that the test is divided into, and you are graded on all four of them. It is advised to have at least a 7 out of 9 overall, and not go below 6 in any one of those exams. And then I took my GMAT because I thought GMAT was really important to go. I went for a coaching for GMAT, and it's funny because it's a small story. So before I joined my coaching class, they had a test to admit you into the coaching class, and I scored really well on those tests. I think GMAT was out of 800, I believe I scored close to 720 or 730 for the
Yeah.
admit test for the coaching class. And I did pretty well throughout the class. I believe I learned a lot. But when I went for the actual exam, I got a 670, which is just even lower than how much I scored in the admit exam for the coaching class.
Yeah.
So I was very depressed.
Yeah.
And that I remember at that time, GMAT exam costed close to 18,000 Indian rupees, which was quite a significant amount of money. And I was like, oh shit, I wasted so much money for no reason. And I spent money on the coaching itself, which which in fact reduced my score for some reason. So that was funny. I was really depressed, but then I took the GRE exam. The GRE went pretty good. I did not do any coaching for GRE, but I scored out of 340, which was pretty good. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, to
No.
this day, I have no idea what happened to my GMAT exam.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Is
the
that the
usual process.
Arun?
Sorry, what's that?
I said, is that the secret? No coaching
Yeah.
there.
So the usual timeline is you take your either IELTS or TOEFL or GRE or GMAT, and then you apply to universities. Universities usually have a standard application process. You have to complete your statement of purpose. Uh, you need to have letter of recommendations from your professors or from your previous workplace, and then submit that. In my case, once I did my GRE and GMAT, I did some research after that. I knew I wanted to go to Duke, or Duke or Purdue or Cornell. So I applied to around 5 or 6 universities. I had admits from most of them, except from Dartmouth. Dartmouth did not. I wanted to go to Dartmouth because it's an Ivy League. It's a really reputable university, and they gave a 50% scholarship for MEM. But they did not take me in. Thankfully, Duke did, and I'm happy to have went to Duke. So yeah, basically your IELTS, TOEFL, your SOP, LORs, that should be a standard applying procedure. Keep in mind to don't wait till the deadline to apply, right? The earlier you apply, the more chances you have, especially because some universities have a rolling deadline, like a rolling admissions process, and the earlier you apply, the better it is for you.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah. Do you have any specific tips on how to maybe craft or like write a good, compelling essay, and how do you go about getting this recommendation letter? Like, what are some strategies that you had while actually
Uh,
doing like
yeah,
applying? Yeah.
I think. See, I've had lots of people say to me that if I can help them write their essays, right? Don't do that, right? The biggest advice I would say is to be genuine and to be truthful, right? If if you are at a stage where you need help I mean, it's okay to take help, but it's not okay to ask someone to write your essay for you. An essay should be like it should be a reflection of what you have done throughout your life. Nobody else can do it for you. So I would suggest just be truthful, spend a lot of time introspecting on what has happened in your life, what lessons have they taught you, and how can you bring that forward in a way that can prove your worth to the university. And if you don't make it, it's okay. You don't fake an experience, because that's not a bite you later on, right? So I would say just be truthful, do a lot of self introspection, and then put pen to paper. And for LORs, so I applied to Duke when I was like 3 years, when I had 3 years of experience. So it was still a short period of time that I could reach back to my undergrad professors, and thankfully they remembered me. I was able to request for an LOR, and they had their templates and formats, and so they gave one for me. I also took 2 LORs from my manager at my team when I was working.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure it was easy for your professors to remember you because you were the only student who switched into a
Kind
team.
of, yeah.
Okay, nice, nice. Awesome. Okay, yeah. Okay, so now it's like my next question is more about just your transition to the US, because I know it's very daunting for international students. I'm also an international student, so yeah, I definitely understand that it's so huge because you're leaving, you know, everyone everything behind and going to a new country. So do you want to like talk to us about just the transition? How were
Yeah.
your first impressions of the US? How did you like, I guess, adapt to the new environment? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, again, before I say about my transition, I should preface by saying this that US is a very difficult country to immigrate to or to, go to study. You have so many hurdles. You first have your visa interview. So this is all after you do the SOP, LORs, your GMAT,
Yeah.
GRE, IELTS. So after going through all of that, you still
Yeah.
have this whole new challenge that you have to secure a visa. You should clear the visa interview and then land the US. So I applied during the middle of COVID, right? So we did not have visa slots available. Many consulates were shut down. So we had a huge waiting period for the visa interview. So the first step is to clear the visa interview. You have to prepare for that and stuff. And then you reach the US airport. Like, you book your flight, you reach US, and then you have a mini interview at the with the immigration officers in the airport. So yeah, to come to your question, I was trying to say that it's difficult
Yeah.
to land in the US, to find a job, to join a university and so on, and it's definitely going to be a huge challenge. Nothing can really prepare you for that until you really experience it, because you are going to miss your home, your family, your friends back home, back in India. And it really helps sometimes to have a friend circle in the US, because you have somebody to reach out to. I thankfully had family in the US, I mean, extended family in the US. So that was a resemblance of home. I had somebody to reach out to.
Yeah.
But there is no way to really, prepare you. You would go through times when you feel really lonely and homesick. Um yeah, and friends help sometimes. I would also suggest that if your university has a program for your mental health, do participate in that, because the United States can be a lonely place for sure.
Yep. 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 Yeah. Thanks so much for
Did that
sharing.
adequately answer your question?
Yeah, I think that did. Yeah, yeah. Were there any like I guess positive impressions when you first came? Anything that surprised you in a positive way, or something?
Uh,
Because for me
y-
personally, I thought the roads were just so clean and well organized, and people actually following traffic rules and uh yeah. Because in
yeah,
India, like, we have the exact opposite. Yeah. So yeah,
yeah.
I just want to
I
hear.
think US does have a lot of positives, right? Uh, it is considered to be the land of opportunities, and that is 100% true. People in the US are generally extremely polite. They hold doors open for you. They say please, they say thank you, they say sorry. So I think one thing I can learn from the US is how, like, not just me, like Indians in general, or like the rest of the world, on how the US people follow rules, and how we have a system in place for everything, and people are expected to abide by that system. In my experience too, people have been extremely friendly and caring. I remember the first day I landed at Duke, or in the US. It was nearly a 27-hour flight. I've had not had a lot of food. I just had like one meal in the flight. I did not have water with me, and I did not have an app. I didn't have Uber or Lyft.
Oh,
I did not have anyone to pick me up at the airport when I landed.
yeah.
So when I reached here, the US, I had no idea how to reach university. So I know I had a home at the university, but I had no way. I didn't know how to reach there. But I was able to, like, get someone to, I paid them, but they still helped me reach the university. And once I reached there too, I did not have any food or water with me. I had no idea like, I reached university at like 10 p.m. and I had no idea what to do for food or water. And I have not had like any food for the last at least 12 hours or so.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Yeah.
so I remember, like, I had a friend over there who I met at university, and they took me out. They taught me how can I go to a restaurant, like where should I go for food. They bought me something to eat. So I've had really friendly experiences. during my time here. I think the people are very welcoming. There might be areas or there might be few people who are not so welcoming, but the majority of people are really nice and helpful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, Arun, yeah, it's not good that you were hungry for so long, but yeah, at least somebody's willing to help you out. Yeah, yeah.
Sounds like it'll always be challenging moving to the US, and it's always going to be a challenge to anyone.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's going to be a challenge, but hopefully it's going to be a challenge that will be worth it down the line.
yeah, yeah. Can you also tell us a little bit about your academic experience at Duke? Maybe how was the teaching style, or if you want to touch upon how it differentiates from your undergrad experience in India?
It's a huge deviation, right? I'm sure that we know this, but in India focuses a lot on memory, and you learn things by heart. You don't really understand the concept. That is certainly true to a lot, like a huge degree. In the US, the focus is more on you really have to understand this what the subject is and how can you apply that in real life. So that places a lot of emphasis on the application and of the subject rather than trying to memorize what it is. Duke in particular was a really insane experience. So like my academic program was, but with a few technical subjects optionally available. So few subjects that I learned at Duke were there was this course called Design Thinking and Innovation. We had a course called Competitive Strategies, Negotiations and Consultative Sales, Marketing. So all these were really useful when I joined at Amazon or as a product manager. We had a course called Finance, which I wish I learned a lot more at Duke because I have to use finance right now. I have to go through P&L tables and like P&L and stuff. But Duke had insanely nice professors, nice in the sense insanely qualified professors. Uh, I remember speaking to there was this we had a professor for marketing and competitive strategies. So if you ask him a question, it's possible that he would have written a book about that subject, right? So really
Wow.
smart professors, and the teaching, the learning was very hands-on. So you get to understand the subject a lot better. And most of what we learned are through group projects. It's very project based. So you get how to work with a group of people, how can you lead groups of people. So it's a very hands-on, I would say, people-oriented learning experience.
Yeah. I think now I would like to switch to probably your cultural insights. I mean, obviously, US and India is very different culture-wise. So maybe like how did you integrate both these cultures in your daily life? And
Mhm.
yeah, basically, how did you go about that?
That's an interesting question. I think culture-wise, definitely the people in US are much more open and liberal. One of the issues I had back in India was there was a lot of influence of religion and politics, which I had to experience. We didn't have a sense of personal space. And by personal space, I mean people did like the Indians, like, let's put it this way. In the US, you have a sense of personal freedom and personal space, right? No one will really come into your face and try to push down, like, shout down their opinion on you. In most cases, liberal society, which I personally can associate with a lot better. So that was good. And I think that was the biggest change for me. People are not concerned with what you do and what you don't do. People generally mind their own business. They go about their lives. They are not concerned with a lot of people around them. But Indians, like at least I am from, everyone knew everyone. There was a lot of influence on others' opinions on what you have to do. People compared you a lot more. But I think that is much lesser in India, in the US. What else? Yeah, and like you previously mentioned, I think the system is much more organized over here. The places are much more cleaner. There's a sense of responsibility in everyone. Like people leave, like people follow the rules. There is lane discipline. So uh, I'm not discounting like India. There are so many things positive about India too, but there is certainly a difference in how people live in the US and in India.
Yeah, totally agree, Arun. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so now, yeah, here's the big question. How did, yeah, like, what is the process for you, to find your first internship, your first job? Because I also remember, I think when you probably started searching, there was a recession, right? So
Yeah.
then it was probably really hard, even finding a job. So, like, how did you go about it? What is the experience like after you found your job? What were some of your takeaways? What did you learn from the
Yeah.
whole experience? I think that'll be interesting.
So I began my job my job application process. So I joined Dude in August of 2021, and in August of 20, no, yeah, my internship was in May of 2022. So I began my application process for my internship around Jan 2022, like 6 months prior to my close to 6 months prior to my internship. My approach to applying was a mix of both quality and quantity, I would say. There were a ton of jobs at that time. This was before the internship actually, before the recession actually came into force. So I used to apply day and night for in most cases. So beginning from Jan 2022, there was like a 2 month period where I was almost applying every single day to close to at least 10 to 15 applications. And in my case, I didn't want to go for anything else than product management. So I applied only for product management jobs. I know people who have applied for at least more than 1,000 different applications. But in my case, I decided to focus a bit more on quality. So yeah, close to 10 to 15 different applications per day. That is still a very high number. Most of my applications were through LinkedIn. A few of them were through just internet searches and other portals that we have. I applied a few on Indeed too. So Duke has a Duke specific website called Handshake. I think few other universities also use that. So there you receive job applications or like job roles which are more specific to that university. My advice would be when you apply for an internship or when you apply for a job, would be to apply as early as possible, right? Usually within a day or two of the when the job role opens up. That would give you a best chance of having your resume being seen. Also, whenever possible, apply with a referral, right? It's not difficult to find people in companies through LinkedIn. If when you reach out to them, most people would be happy to refer you for a job. So do apply with a referral, but do not wait for, let's say, a week or so for a referral. It's more important to apply early than to apply with a referral. At least that has been my experience. And if you can find somebody in a company to like email the hiring manager and give your resume, put your resume in front of them, that would be the best case situation. Most companies, at least Amazon, has an internal portal where you can see the jobs listed and the hiring manager, the recruiter, what exactly the job, like you have the job posting with the email of the hiring manager and the recruiter. So if you can have somebody in the company to email that hiring manager with your resume, that would be the best case scenario. So yeah, coming back to my internship application, I applied for around 2 months. I got my first job offer in HP. So they offered me a job, and again, this was through the usual LinkedIn applications. But before I accepted the HP job offer, I had an interview lined up with Amazon for the Amazon internship. So I attended that first, and then thankfully that went through. The do you want me to explain more about the Amazon interview experience or?
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
this was for an Amazon senior product manager internship. I know the word senior and internship don't really add up in one single job title, but that was the job role. There were two interviews. back to back. It was mostly focused on Amazon's leadership principles. Amazon has around 15 leadership principles, which are really very well ingrained in the company culture. Amazons really believe in those. So these interviews were based on that. They were mostly behavioral interviews, not very technical because my role was a product management role. So yeah, 2 interviews back to back. And then a week from there, I got my offer letter for Amazon. And that was, I think, the day my life changed the most.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I can speak about
I'm sure it was
Amazon
super
later.
happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you like
So once
super
I,
happy when you got it?
I was so happy. Like,
Yeah.
I remember I woke up in the morning around like 6 a.m. and I saw this email and I'm like, oh, wow. That was probably the one of the happiest days in my life. So yeah, I got my offer letter, I think on mid-March, and I joined Amazon in May. So between March and May, I did not really apply to any jobs. I was just basically enjoying my life. Then I joined Amazon in May and all that. Now, coming back to the same situation for a full-time job too. So my internship at Amazon began in May and it ended in August. It was a 3-month period. So I received an offer with Amazon to return back in August. Like I successfully completed my internship. I got an offer to return to the same team. But that's when the recession actually took place. I remember Elon Musk and Twitter were firing people, and that was the beginning of all the chaos. I always felt that my job was safe, which is not a, it should not be, don't feel that your job is safe, basically. So, yeah, I got my offer at Amazon in August. I was fully expecting to go back to Amazon, but and I did not apply for any jobs during my final semester at Duke because I was confident I have a job. Why should I even spend time applying for a job? Then in December, Amazon decided to postpone my offer by 6 months, and I was so devastated.
Yeah.
I understand why they did it. They had recessions, layoffs going on. It did not make sense for them to, or they wanted more time to evaluate the situation and see if they should hire more people or not. So my graduation date was on December 30th, and I lost my job on December 16th, like 2 weeks before my graduation. So that was a huge shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be an understatement to say that I was sad. But then you have to do what you have to do, right? So in the US you have around 3 months to find a job. So you can't be unemployed for more than 3 months. You have this OPT period where you need to find a job, else you have to go back home. So again, I had to prepare myself to get on the recruiting stage. I had to begin applying to companies, reached out to people online. You basically knock on every door hoping it would open or hoping you have some chance that comes out of it. So yeah, in December I graduated, and in Jan of last year, 2023, I was applying for jobs. Thankfully, Walmart took me in. I joined Walmart in March of 2023. I am always grateful to Walmart for that. I think my Amazon experience helped. Like having Amazon, the internship on my resume, that really helped me secure a job at Walmart. And Walmart was a really nice place to work. I can speak about that later, but essentially this is the application process. So I joined Walmart. I spent 6 months there. Uh, Thankfully, Amazon decided to uphold their the internship offer, even though they postponed by 6 months. They took me back in 6 months. So I again joined Amazon. So to answer your question, the applications process would be my advice would be to apply as early as possible, apply with a referral as much as possible, try to find somebody in the company who can, advocate for you, push your resume to the hiring manager, and then network a lot, right? Your connections are what truly find you a job, like, or what truly will open doors for you. Try to reach out to as many people as possible. You never know who will be able to help you find your next job.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Arun, for sharing. Yeah. I feel like there were so many highs and lows
For
because you were
sure.
so happy as you was getting the offer, but then, yeah, you also had
Yeah,
like a sad
yeah.
exactly. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks so much for sharing.
Right now I'm riding a high. I don't I don't know how long the high will last. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully it lasts forever. But yeah,
Yep.
awesome, awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that, Arun. Yeah, yeah, we have one last question for you. Yeah, do you want to like talk? Maybe what advice would you share with future international students who are looking to apply here to the US, trying to find a job and trying to make it just like you. So, do you have any final word of advice for
I
people?
don't think I have a final. I don't have like whatever advice I say that would be heavily biased by my experiences. So my experience has been majorly positive. I've had few downs, ups and downs, but it has majorly been a positive experience. So I don't want to. So your mileage might vary, right? So, but overall, I would say it's certainly a very high risk, high reward place. You either make it or you lose a lot of your time, effort, and money. So be prepared to go through a period of uncertainty. Be prepared to be challenged mentally, physically, emotionally. Be super proactive. US is not a place for lazy people, right? Uh, be really proactive. Try to apply for jobs as early as possible, network as much as possible, try to build connections. At the end of the day, it's the people that you know that will really make a difference, right? So try to build connections. Yeah, that's what I would say. But
Yeah.
and don't forget to enjoy life too. US, I mean, it's a new place. Travel around, meet new people. Don't be so sucked into the all the applications and job and your studies that you forget to enjoy life. Take a breather. Things will fall out okay for you eventually. Things will be okay eventually. So yeah, those would be my overall pieces of advice.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for your advice, Arun. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are going to learn a lot from it. So, yeah,
Now,
yeah,
one
appreciate it.
last fun
Yeah.
question. So what is your source of motivation, or what inspires you to get out of bed every question? Probably expected it to be more fun, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
See, for me, the answer to that question has changed over the years, right? What motivates me or what gets me out of bed has changed drastically over the years. I think when I was younger, when I was in VIT, maybe my whole passion, like the whole point of my life was to follow my passion at that time, which was basically engines and cars and rockets and physics. But then later on, that switched. I wanted to have more of a career. I mean, like I was more career oriented in terms of I need to get the exposure, I need to meet new people, I need to get more experiences, and so on. I think right now, my biggest motivation is, do you know the concept of FIRE? FIRE, FIRE. FIRE stands for financial independence, retire early. It's the whole idea where you earn or you save X amount of money, which would enable you to retire early in life and then do whatever you want. And there are different types of fire. There is fat fire, lean fire, uh, roast fire, obese fire. So it depends. Like it's all like how much how comfortable you would be after you retire. A usual rule of thumb is to have is that you can fire once you have 50 times your annual expenditure, right? If your annual expenses is say 10, if you once you have 50 times that, like you can retire now. That depends on person to person, but the usual rule of thumb is 50x of your annual expenses. So right now, I think my motivation is to fire. I want to save enough money that I can comfortably retire and then do whatever I want. And that whatever I want would be to travel, would be to do some kind of social service, uh, find time to read, find time to follow my passion. So that's my current motivation. That might change. I know there are many people who find their work as their biggest motivation in life. Like people, I know for some people, if you take away their job, they don't have anything else to express them as, right? Their whole personality is molded by their job, and they can't imagine a life after they are like, apart from their job. In my case, that's slightly different. For me, my job is a means to an end. I'm using my job, and I'm being 100% truthful and going the extra mile in my job so that I can essentially retire early. So I would say that is my current motivation in life. I'm not sure if that is the best approach. I would never say that. It's again individual preferences that really matter. But for me, at this point of time, this is what I want.
Yeah, hopefully you fire away soon. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much, Arun. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you
was
so
super
much,
nice
guys. Thank you
having
so
you.
much for having me.
It was super nice having you on this call, and thanks so much for sharing a lot of experiences. I'm sure
Yeah.
the two of us as well as the viewers are going to learn a lot from you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much.